Welcome to Offset. Larry and the Big Man, two-time Stanley Cup champion Jay Caufield, and we've got two-time Super Bowl defensive end Brett Keisel. The Beard is here and looking forward to it. We want to thank Brian Hess from One Team Media and his team, Mark Connington, Ryan Jorgen, and Logan Douglas. And my employer is Odyssey Pittsburgh, thanks to Michael Spacciapoli and Brian Hess, the mastermind behind all of this.
Yeah, also Rourke Automotive, the Rourke Automotive Group, one of our title sponsors, along with Henderson Brothers and Tom Grillish. Part of that, we want to thank both you guys for being a part of what we're doing, and we can't be more happy than what we have as our guest today, and Brett Keisel, as Larry mentioned.
Brett, appreciate you being here.
Thanks, guys. Great to be here with both of you.
Yeah, many people might not know the connection you have with hockey. I mean, we know you as defensive end, Super Bowl champ. Everybody knows you as the Beard. You've used that beard to raise money for Children's Hospital over the years. But having the beard kind of ties into hockey.
100%.
It does.
100%. I saw those boys growing their playoff beards in 2009 and went on to win the cup. And, that was an amazing thing to watch. And I just thought, man, those guys look so good. Look at those beards on those guys. Some of them, not so much. Some of them have work to do.
Yeah.
But there was some sweet beards. And I thought, I'd never had went full caveman before. And so that's kind of how the beard got started, was through hockey. But hockey has changed my life. Obviously, I came here with the Steelers in 2002, got drafted. But, coming here, it's such an amazing sports town here in Pittsburgh. And I had to go down and learn about hockey because the owner was playing and we got the number one pick of the draft. And I'm just like, man, there's some crazy stuff going on in this hockey world. The fights, I was like, I didn't know anything about it. And luckily I learned a lot. And now, all these years later, being in Pittsburgh, our three kids are full blown travel. I just got back from New York last week on travel hockey. I talked to Sidney Crosby at the McAfee event here, and I was like, I got a bone to pick with you, buddy. You gave all the kids all this free stuff, and you get them hooked when they're just little teeny guys. And there's like this tornado that you get put in running on the road and all this stuff. But man, is it awesome. And our kids and our families and the people we've met, our lives have been so enriched by hockey, and not just watching Crosby and his greatness and, the team and what they've done, but just the love of the game and the way the game's played and the culture of the game. And, my daughter gets to play the game, and they're rough and tumble and playing hard and go to nationals. I mean, it's just so much fun and has been great for us.
So you got three kids. You got one
Three.
daughter and two boys.
Jacob, Grace, and William. Yes. Yeah.
And all in this travel part. Of the three, who's the most competitive of the three?
Whew, that's a good question. I would probably, they're all very competitive. In fact, it's hard when we even play board games at the house or something like that, because someone gets upset, storms off and is upset. But, they're all very competitive. I would probably say there's something about, that second child. I was a second child. My daughter is a second child, and I think you're always just kind of fighting, and so she's super competitive, and I would maybe choose her if I had to choose, but they are all very, very competitive.
Yeah.
That said, what positions do they play?
In hockey, my daughter's a defenseman. Our oldest son, Jacob, who's playing for the junior Pens this year, is a defenseman as well, of course. I believe in defense wins championships, if that's a shocker. But and our youngest plays center. He likes to score. So it's fun because we got all the worlds, and they also play lacrosse, and they play forward and that midi and stuff like that. So sports here is important. It teaches you so much, and I love that they are involved.
So let me go back. Let's go back and, you obviously with the Steelers, but you also had it through high school. Now, if there would have been hockey, if you'd have been, that's something you would have just probably jumped in right away. But same with us in certain areas. But you were huge basketball,
Yeah.
basketball and football. Truly, probably basketball might have been the way you would want to go if you could, right?
I really love basketball. In fact, I used to, I was that guy who was shoveling the snow and then out there shooting left-hand, right-handed layups. Like, I really thought I was going to the NBA.
Yeah.
Big man.
Yeah.
I was going. And I was growing and I was big, and I got a lot of offers to go play college basketball, but around my senior year when I was getting recruited and stuff like that, one thing always bothered me about basketball, and it was that you foul out. And that became a problem for me.
Totally.
I always seemed to be in foul trouble. There was always, I like to play physical. I like to get grimy down there in the paint, and I was always fouling out. So football kind of transitioned well with me. You can foul there and get celebrated. So that worked better.
See, I kind of totally get that because both my girls played. Larry's daughter played basketball as well. I think it's that sport, the give and go game, all the things that you would like. I mean, that it's part of hockey. It's part of a number of things, but I think that part, the foul trouble, and have a great player maybe foul out of a game, always was something that was tough to deal with. But from there, look what you're doing. Look what you were, in high school, and then it's BYU, right?
Yeah.
So why from Wyoming? Why
Green
BYU?
Bull, Wyoming.
Gray Bull. We call it the Bull. Shout out to them. They had a great year in football. Made it to the championship game, I think. It's coming up this weekend. But it was a great place to grow up. I was born in Provo, Utah. I was born there. My dad was a firefighter. My mom worked at the hospital as well. And so I was born down there. We were raised down there. My mom is from a cattle ranch up in Gray Bull. That's where she was born and raised. And, they did it. If you've watched Yellowstone or people have seen the cowboy stuff, like that's how they did it. Yeah. We moved the cows up to the mountains in the summer and go up and round them up and bring them back down in the fall and keep them in the winter them at the house there and feed them with all the stuff you grow throughout the summer there. And I mean, we moved up there when I was 10. My grandpa got in a horse accident, and we moved up there when I was 10 to take over the ranch. And it was just the best thing, like growing up that way. I complained about it a lot when I was a kid. I was like, I'm the only one doing this, and I'm the only one out here splitting firewood in the freezing cold. And, but all those things really shaped me into who I am today. And I'm so grateful to grow up that way. And yeah, I had a kind of a hard choice between, I was thinking the University of Wyoming maybe or BYU to go play football, but I wanted to be a tight end. And BYU was throwing the rock all over to their tight ends, and everyone else, including Wyoming, was like, you're a defensive player. I know you're a defensive player. I'm like, you guys don't know anything. I'm an offensive player. I'm a tight end, man. I'm scoring touchdowns. And so I went to BYU to be a tight end, and things change after the recruiting process. It's like, it's kind of wine and dine when it's recruiting. And then when you get down, you get a part of the 100 guys. It's like, hey, buddy, you need to work your way into it.
Yeah, I find that it's not all, it's really true. It's a really good point for any even young player today or coming through high school and what's it going to be like, because the day you do walk onto the field, it's a completely different, all of a sudden, they're not even nice anymore. In some cases, not even, almost act like they don't even know you. So
Exactly.
you have to go through a thing, and you got to be able to handle that part. And you had a bump in the road with that. I mean, so.
Well, that's it. I mean, I went down there, to be a tight end. When I got down there, I thought I was going to play right away. That was kind of always the message. You're going to come down, you're going to have a chance to play right down, a chance to play. And so you kind of go through training camp. It's a few weeks, and you're a freshman coming in. You're not as big and strong as everybody. You're kind of like, oh man, this is a lot different than Gray Bull football. And I was getting tossed around a little bit and stuff. And so they're like, well, we're going to redshirt you so you can get bigger and stronger. And it was the right thing to do. I needed to. But I was upset about it, and my academics started to slip, and I started to go fish the Provo River instead of going to a class, and it was culture shock for me because I went from a town of like 1,200 people to a class of 1,200 people. It was a big thing, and I'm like, yeah, I gotta know I'm not there. I'm like, I'll just go fish and get the notes from somebody else. And not the right thing to do, and ended up, actually losing my scholarship. And becoming an academically ineligible. And, I remember that call to my old man, like,
Yeah.
"Hey, Dad."
How you doing?
Yeah, how's it going? Oh, good. What's up? Like, hey, I threw this away. But sometimes in life you get put on a path and it's kind of a fork in the road, and for me, that's what it was. It was like, I realized what I lost and all the hard work that went up to getting that. I realized that, this could be gone and I could lose this dream. And so I really buckled down. I went to Snow College. Snow College saved me. It's funny, Jalen Warren, who's running back for the Steelers, he went to Snow College too. Snow College kind of helped a lot of guys kind of get their feet back and get back to it. But shout out to the Badgers in Ephraim, Utah, which happens to be where my dad was born, in Ephraim, Utah. And they flipped me around, turned me into a defenseman, said, "Dude, you're not a tight end. You are a defensive player. You're going to play D-line." And I switched to defensive end, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And look at here now. I'm talking to you two wonderful gentlemen here in Pittsburgh.
That's right. That's right. By the way, I was only in Provo once. Actually, Pitt played BYU. This is when I first got in the business. And we went to, it's beautiful, everything about it. And we went to Robert Redford's Sundance that I guess he was filming Jeremiah Johnson and fell in love and bought it, turned it into a ski resort and, this film institute. We were having dinner. There were 10 of us. And I said, just kidding. I go, well, we'll probably see my friend Bob come in at any time. I swear to God, 5 minutes later, Robert Redford walks in. And we all were like, hey, thanks. Hey, thanks. But that's a beautiful part of the country.
Oh, it is beautiful. In fact, Provo there at Lavelle Edwards Stadium, big shout out to the Cougars. They're doing great. They didn't, do this great this last week, but they're having a great year. But that stadium, if you've seen it on TV, the mountains are right behind it, the Wasatch Mountains. It's just an amazing place right there. And
When I grew up in Philly, then we were in Pennsylvania, you see the mountains here. So I played a game my first year in North Dakota, and we played Montana. So we flew in at night, and I woke up in the morning, opened the curtains of my room, and saw the mountains that are there, and it's a whole different
mountains.
It's a different, it's a different world, and the beauty of it. And their stadium was sitting inside the mountains range too, if you will. There isn't anything like that, so it's a different world.
Little side note. The studio where they filmed Yellowstone, where they weren't doing outdoor shots, is in Provo. It's full production. And I'm thinking, because it's up the mountain from Salt Lake.
Yep.
So it's pretty easy to get to with a major airport. What a great experience.
I'm a mountain man. I don't just look like
Really?
this. I'm a total mountain man. I love being in the mountains. I love the high country.
Yeah.
It's just it's part of who I am and what I believe in. I really use that for healing and like getting my therapy. That is my therapist. When I can get outside and get into nature and go do my thing, I really can come at peace. And it's helped me in so many ways that I can't even describe. And just being around a campfire with your boys and you're talking and sharing stories and stuff, it's very awesome.
Well, that kind of led you. So I'll ask one question. I want to get back to that part of it because it leads you to what you have going on in your life now. But when you went from Snow, let's go back to for 1 second, Snow and then back to BYU.
Yeah.
What the coaching staff, everybody then receptive and they knew you're on the defensive side of the ball. Then you took off.
Yeah, well, when I was having trouble in school and things were going south, I had a wonderful coach. His name was Tom Ramage, and he coached the D-line. I was a tight end at the time. And he saw something in me, whether it was in practice, how I practice. I've always tried to practice hard.
Yeah.
I've always felt like if you practice hard, the game should be easy, and so I've always really had that mentality. And he saw something in me and brought me in and was like, he made the connection with Mike Empey, who was the head coach down at Snow College, and said, look, we're going to send you down there and we're going to switch you to defense. And I got your back here. You go down, handle your business, get it back together. And sometimes when you're going through stuff, all it takes is one guy to kind of be in your corner, and one guy to nudge you along there and help you when you're knocked down instead of just like turn their back, and he saved me, and the D line, I got to go through college with Chris Hoke there, and then he came to Pittsburgh the year before I got here. And so it was such an amazing thing to get drafted, that whole process of the draft and everything, and not knowing where you're going to go. And finally, Coach Cowher calls me, I'm a 242nd pick. I'm like going, oh my gosh. At a party, everyone's kind of leaving, like, well, this was a dud, but luckily Coach Cowher called me and, came to Pittsburgh and just somehow, some way, all these years later, still here.
That's awesome. No.
Yeah, with
That's
two
awesome.
rings.
Yeah,
Which
2 rings.
not many-
Both got to. Yeah, we did.
That's it.
That's right. That's
And
right.
not many people in professional sports can say that. That said, what was your impression of Pittsburgh so you come for football, it's all in, but then when you kind of say, hey, you and your wife are like, okay, we're here. What is this place? What was your discovery of Pittsburgh like?
It was so incredible. I'll never forget coming through the front door there at Fort Pitt. I'd never been to Pittsburgh, and I'm riding from the airport going like, where is the city? Like, I don't see it. And all of a sudden you're going through the tunnel and bam, it slaps you right across the face, and I looked to my left and all those beautiful yellow seats. Heinz Field had just been built, right? It was built the year before in 2000. Well, the first season was in 2001 there, but it was brand new and was shining so pretty. The rivers were glistening, the yellow bridges. I mean, my jaw hit the floor. And so I'm just like, oh, and it was just like I was pulling into heaven. And then we took a right and went up the Mon, and over to the South Side facility and went through there and met everyone. And I've told that story about Mr. Rooney a few times, but when I first met him, I didn't realize it was him, and it was
This is the guy that owns the team.
yeah. And it was at the end of kind of my day of meeting everybody and getting all my equipment and finding my locker and going through the training room and all that stuff you do when you get into a place the first time.
Yeah.
And he's up there making copies. So I'm like, this can't be him, And I told the guy, I'm like, man, that's awesome. You guys hire seniors here. That's great, He's like, he was just like, what'd you say to me? Like, you got to go back in there. That's the owner of the team. I'm like, oh my gosh, let me get back in there. But Mr. Rooney was always so amazing. And I knew that right away, how incredible it was to be part of a team that was ran like they run it. He was there every day and involved every day and walking around and checking on people every day and had so many other things to do. But Mr. Rooney, man, he was one in a million, and we were just so lucky to have him and his family and what they've done for this town and the team and everything.
And we all feel, I think everybody feels that way. I think as an athlete too, when you're in the city, and you talked about in the opening about how such a sports lady, all the sports are so close. Like, I love it when the Steelers are rooting on the Penguins and vice versa, and the Pirates, and you try and bring it all in together. There's something unique about that. I mean, I know those cities try and show that part. It isn't like it is here. It's a closer knit just because of the way the city sits and what it's all about. I think it's a special thing that players get to experience when you're doing that. Just like even when we get to see you at the arena a couple weeks ago, and what that means. The players, the Penguins, they know it. They feel it. It's a great thing. I think it's a great thing.
It's unique. It's unique to be a part of a town where we all wear the same colors.
Yep.
We all are expected to win. If this is a huge winning culture here, we work hard and we win hard. And it's a special, unique place. And I that's one of my favorite things too. I never forget young guy getting to go down to a Pirates game and just being like, wow, I mean, look at that backdrop at the stadium and the city.
It is.
And then going to Old Mellon, and watching the games there and watching and learning about hockey and offsides. And here you are fighting.
Hockey dad.
Yeah, I'm all in, 10 toes, man. Like, jam them in the skates. But that's one of the thing, like, life's all about timing, and the timing of me to get drafted where I was and to come into a team that had so many great players in it and was led by Hall of Famers all over the place, and so those guys are teaching you without really getting you in the classroom, but just watching them, they're teaching you. And that's what has enriched my life more than anything, is just being around all these Hall of Fame people that have done things a certain way to become Hall of Famers. And, it's easy to kind of look at them and go, okay, I see how to do that. Like, let's go. We all do that, man. Sky's the limit.
At that hockey game where you were with Aaron Rodgers and the linemen, that's when Aaron Rodgers said he even got to meet Mario's bodyguard. And I called Jay. I go, Aaron Rodgers just called you Mario's bodyguard. He didn't believe me.
No. Well, Brett put that all together. He had them all in there, and they were
I
all.
know.
Yeah, I know. You're right, Larry.
He said he was talking to Brett.
He pulled a picture together and everything. And I really, Brett was the one that pulled me into it because I'm like,
All right, thought us in there too. It was perfect,
Yeah.
man. Because
Yeah.
we athletes, we love
Yep.
and when you walk around him, you're like, damn, he's a big guy. Well, I'm like, that's the big man,
And he played football,
know?
too.
Yeah, and so it's
He played football, broke his neck,
Yeah.
and then decided to go into the NHL.
exactly,
Who else does that?
exactly,
No one. It's a
exactly.
zero.
Mhm.
And I share that with them, and they're just like, woo, like we all love meeting athletes and people that go through those type of things. And, everyone was excited to meet Big Man and Trotz in there. We had such a great time in the game. It was fun. We did the little here we go thing at the start.
They did, yeah.
And
God.
we got scored on like 2 seconds in. Like, I was just like, oh, geez, this is going to be bad. Because you always, when you go there and if you're doing something
Expect
like
to
you
win.
come up on the Jumbotron, I told the kids, if I come up on the Jumbotron, they better score within this next shift or it's going to be bad. You know what I mean? And a lot of times they make it happen.
A lot of times they do.
So, but it's, I think that's, the best part of it all is Sarah and I have our kids now and we've gotten to give them a front row seat to all the cool things like that this sports town does. And, there's so many great things about being in Pittsburgh that we had to stay and it's been so beneficial to not only me, but to my family.
You mentioned your wife, and I don't want to be remiss in not talking about that. We talked about your whole family, but you go back to high school.
Oh, yeah.
High
baby.
school
Yep,
sweetheart.
yep.
Sarah.
Yeah. She's the homecoming queen, valedictorian.
Val.
Way to go, babe. Way to
Check
set the stage.
Check it off the list.
I had high standards, in high school.
Absolutely.
So she's so great and, has really been a huge reason that I've been as successful as I have. She's given me love when I needed it, and she's also given me tough love
Yep.
when I needed that. When I could be complaining about something, and she might be like, "Well, you just kind of sound like you're feeling sorry for yourself a little bit," And I'd be like, "What?" But only your lady can say that to you, And she's so wonderful and does so much with our family and keeping the kids lined out. They're such great students and academically and so much better than I ever was in that regard. And I'm just really fortunate to have a best friend, that I can come home to and count on, and she knows she can count on me too. And then, having our three rascals and here in Pittsburgh and yeah, just, living down the river in Swickley, they go to QV and I've played hockey for QV and lacrosse for QV. And so it's been a dream come true. People ask me all the time how I'm doing. And I'm always like, I'm living the dream, baby.
Yeah.
And you mean it. That said, how passionate. I'm a native. So I grew up this way. Those 4 original Super Bowls, this town was going under. Steel mills are closing. People were out of work. This smoky city image. And it was the Steelers that gave us the collective community rallying point. And they paid off with those 4 Super Bowls with the Chief and Dan Rooney back then. So we live and die in this town, as you know firsthand, on what you guys do on Sundays. And when they beat the Colts, not a lot of fans thought that was going to happen. You're like, okay, here we go. What happened Sunday?
Well, I guess they should have taken the whole Super Bowl 40 team out to San Diego with them because we were all there for the Colts game, you know? We got to celebrate our 20th anniversary of Super Bowl
I got
40.
to announce your name.
Yeah, I loved hearing it again. You did good. Shot, I did my old bow and arrow dance, and I told my son, I'm like, I'm gonna flip an arrow up to you, buddy. You better catch it. So it was great to be back with my team, and there was such a good energy in the building, and it was just awesome to watch the defense go out and just get crazy and get turnovers, and it's amazing how quickly things can change. Last game was hard to watch. I felt like the defense played tough, but there was a lot of times where I wasn't sure what the offense was doing, and you know, sports is crazy like that. Sometimes you get the bear, like Coach LeBeau would say. Sometimes you get the bear, and sometimes the bear gets you. And if you're lucky enough to be standing, you better do something about it.
Do you feel like the athlete, even inside the time from when you retired and now, the athlete changing it all, or is there's so much? I mean, the social media, maybe guys trying to for branding, whatever it might be, any way you want to look at it, because we weren't involved. We really didn't have. We
Yeah.
didn't have that. So, but do you feel like the athlete's a little bit different? That the care, everybody
100%.
cares, but somehow it doesn't seem like the care factor might not be
100%.
exactly the same as yours.
100%. I'm kind of worried about the youth landscape a little bit because, well, in college now, a lot of times, like, you got to earn things. And I think so much happens with recruiting that things get promised. And now with the NIL, money's being transferred. And yet still we have the transfer portal where if someone's unhappy or doesn't feel like they're getting a fair shake, well, you can just jump in the transfer
Yeah.
portal. And I think there's so many loopholes to try and get the kid into the right situation that's going to help them be the best player they can be. But there's so many loopholes that I feel like when these people are going to be moving forward in life or whatever and think that everything's just going to be like laid out for them or given to them, or if you have some hardships or adversity that you don't dig in and face them and work your way through it, that it's kind of like, well, if it's not given to me, I'm just going to quit or transfer or go do something else.
Larry, we've talked about this before, Brett, on a previous show, but I always felt like this full ride or scholarship that I had was like, we felt like that was like the gift, right?
Yeah.
And I understand what value certain players might bring to a university, but the part that I never got, that a coach could up and leave anytime he wanted. Right? The freedom that the coach had, like he recruited you, but maybe the guy who recruited you is gone by the time you show up in your first year there, whatever, or leaves eventually in your term. But I don't think it should do what they're doing now. Like you said, I totally agree. Like you had to work through it. If you were on the bad side of the coaching staff, you had to keep working through it till you figured it out, or they figured you out. Now it is they're jumping ship left and right. There's no loyalty anywhere. The money's they're not. It used to be the love of an amateur athlete playing a sport. Those days are gone. Like it's gone, and it went in a hard way too.
Yeah, colleges, it's professional now, obviously.
Yeah.
If you're giving a kid $1 million to come in and play, he's a professional athlete. He's not a student athlete really anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that transition is happening when these kids are 16, 17 years old, getting $1 million offers. And I just worry about where it's going to go a little bit. And I think it's going to be tough to rein back in. They've got to find and implement some rules, whether it's salary caps or things like that or revenue share. Like, if an offensive lineman is a great player or whatever, but he's not getting that type of offer, maybe that can be shared through that and the D line or something, But I know it's a tough deal because of it's open and now colleges have to use it to recruit. You have to. If you want to be a powerhouse like you've got, and it's happening in hockey
Yeah.
and I mean, it's all over. And so I just feel like, you know, sports is hard and competing's hard. And anytime you try or can get an opportunity to be in a championship, it's hard. And the ones that understand how to work through that hard time and that tough time and those times when things aren't beautiful and getting everything you want, I feel like that's what makes a champion. when you can grind through that stuff and find a way to overcome all the things that are in front of you.
The man in the arena. I also remember Coach Cowher saying, "There's a fine line between winning and losing in this league." And man, you see that every week in the NFL. How does Miami destroy Buffalo? How does that happen?
No idea.
I mean, and games like that every weekend, there's another one of those shockers where you just,
Oh, yeah.
go, how did that happen?
Green Bay losing to Carolina and Cleveland both, and they're supposed to be a Super Bowl
And
contender.
Cleveland,
I will guarantee you, but we've had discussion about this, but I don't think a true Super Bowl contender, do they really lose to those? It wouldn't have happened in your day. If the Steelers team was good and you were playing a bottom feeder, you kind of, I'm not saying it on any given Sunday, which is afraid. We understand that. But not 2 times within 4 weeks do you lose to teams that are not up there in the state somewhere. They wouldn't. I don't know. I find it unbelievable what's happening in the NFL too.
You really have a hard time when you start stringing losing games together. When those start stacking up instead of the other way around,
Yep.
things get really bad, and finger pointing starts happening, and this and that, and excuses, and it's really. That's what I mean, being so grateful I've got to be around Hall of Famers, because we've went through all those situations. I mean, that's Super Bowl we just celebrated. We were 7-5 in November. We lost to Cincinnati at home. Year before we were 15-1.
right?
I mean, how can that happen? And that's pretty much what Cowher said when he kicked the door in and spit all over all of us in that meeting, was like, how do we go from 15-1 to about to be eliminated from the playoffs? And, it was the greatest thing for him to do, because he said, we're not grading this tape. The coaches aren't grading it. You guys take out a pen and paper and you mark a plus or minus on every snap that you were in if you were doing everything you could for the team. Write it down. You grade it. And everyone's like, oh, geez, and you're watching the game in front of everybody. And you can see when you're not going all out. And it's like, when you have that type of heat, that changed everything for us. And we went on the run. We beat Chicago. Everyone remembers that. Beat Chicago at home. Bussy runs over Brian in the end zone. Snow.
My favorite lettuce play.
It's like historic. And making that whole run through the playoffs to be the first 6 seed to go on and win the Super Bowl in Detroit for that man we were just talking about.
Awesome. Yeah.
I mean, and it took leadership in him coming in and doing that. You know what I mean? And lighten us up. Like, great leaders know how to do that, and they know how to motivate their teams. And fortunately for us, you were talking about the old 70s. Like, fortunately, we were able to add some to that legacy, and it's going to be forever stamped on those trophies. And what better town for that to happen in, right?
You
totally
gave
agree.
us one for the thumb and then one.
For the other thumb.
Yeah. Brett Keisel, appreciate your time, man. And I'm happy you played here, stayed here, and you continue to contribute to our community with the Shear the Beard for Children's Hospital. You've raised a hell of a lot of money, so kudos.
Yeah, I love it. Love Pittsburgh.
And we got you a little more time with you after we close this one show out, so we're
sure.
thrilled that you're able to spend
We're
a little bit more
going
with us.
here.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Brett Keisel, want to thank One Team Media, Brian Hess, and Odyssey's Michael Spatropoli.
Yeah, and also I said Rourke Automotive and Henderson Brothers for being title sponsors for us. We really appreciate it, and helps us keep this thing moving. Thank you.
Offset with Larry and the Big Man and the Beard. And that's a wrap.